Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and unsettling developments inside Belarus, where a massive crack in military loyalty is beginning to reshape the country's internal structure and political future. What was once considered one of the most disciplined and loyal armed forces in the region is now showing signs of internal disagreement, frustration, and resistance. This shift is raising serious questions about how much control the leadership still holds, how unified the military truly is, and what this could mean for the stability of Belarus moving forward. For years, the Belarusian military was seen as a solid pillar supporting the political leadership. It maintained discipline, followed directives, and avoided internal disputes publicly. But recent events have revealed a very different picture behind closed doors. Officers who normally keep disagreements private have started voicing concerns, challenging orders, and showing hesitation toward decisions coming from the top. These actions hint at deeper issues that have been building for months or even years. The rift began quietly, with small signs of dissatisfaction. Officers expressed concerns about unclear missions, lack of resources, and political pressure that interfered with military priorities. At first, these complaints were limited to internal discussions, whispered conversations, and confidential requests for clarification. But over time, frustration grew. The belief that key decisions were being made without strategic logic or proper planning pushed many commanders to question whether they could continue operating without transparency. The breaking point came when several senior officers reportedly resisted orders they viewed as risky or politically motivated. This act of resistance was subtle but meaningful. It was a sign that loyalty, once unquestioned, was transforming into hesitation. Officers who spent decades serving under strict leadership were now pausing, analyzing, and reconsidering. That hesitation created a shockwave throughout the military chain. The leadership responded with urgency. Meetings were called, statements were released, messages emphasizing unity and loyalty were delivered across all major commands. But instead of calming the situation, these actions drew attention to the seriousness of the internal issues. The more aggressively the leadership pushed loyalty, the more people wondered why such pressure was suddenly necessary. One of the core reasons behind the loyalty crack is a growing sense of strategic disagreement. Many officers believe the country's direction is becoming unstable. They feel Belarus is being pulled into political and military commitments that may not align with national interests. This sense of misalignment has made officers uneasy. They want clarity, security, and a stable direction. Instead, they see unpredictable shifts that could endanger the military's role, reputation, and internal coherence. Economic challenges also contribute to the problem. Military budgets have been stretched thin. Supplies have become harder to maintain. Training programs have faced interruptions. These practical issues weigh heavily on soldiers and officers who depend on strong resources to carry out their duties. When morale drops, loyalty often follows. People begin to question decisions that seem disconnected from the realities they face on the ground. Another factor is the growing pressure within the institution. Inspections, loyalty checks, and political supervision have increased significantly. Officers feel that trust is being replaced with suspicion. Instead of being valued for experience and strategic thinking, many feel they are being monitored for political reliability. This environment makes honest discussions difficult. When people believe they cannot express concerns without facing consequences, resentment grows quickly. For younger officers, the situation is especially troubling. They entered service expecting professionalism and structure. Instead, they find themselves caught between conflicting pressures. Their loyalty to the country is genuine, but they struggle with the political expectations placed on them. They want to protect Belarus, yet they worry that decisions made far above them may create unnecessary dangers. This generational divide adds another layer to the loyalty crack. Outside the military, the public is watching with concern. Belarus has already experienced political tension in recent years, and the thought of internal military instability brings added fears. People worry about the possibility of stricter controls, increased security measures, or sudden government actions to reassert dominance. When a military begins to fracture, citizens naturally wonder what might come next. The international community is also monitoring the situation closely. Belarus holds a sensitive position in regional politics. Any instability within its armed forces could affect the balance of power in neighboring areas. Countries that rely on Belarus for security arrangements or borders worry about the long-term consequences of a divided military. Analysts warn that fractured loyalty in an institution as powerful as the military can create ripple effects far beyond national borders. While the situation is serious, it has not turned violent. There are no signs of mutiny, no signs of open rebellion, and no indication that officers want to overthrow leadership. Instead, the crack is quieter but more subtle and dangerous. It manifests in hesitation, disagreement, refusal to accept political interference, and growing doubts about orders. These forms of resistance are less visible, but just as impactful. When officers hesitate, the entire system slows down. When they doubt the logic behind decisions, their motivation weakens. The leadership faces a difficult challenge now. Restoring loyalty will not be easy. Simply demanding obedience may strengthen the divide rather than close it. Officers want transparency, clear objectives, and trust. They want to feel that their expertise matters and that their concerns are heard. Without meaningful dialogue, the crack could widen. Belarus' military identity has always been rooted in structure and unity, but unity cannot survive if underlying grievances remain ignored. Loyalty requires respect, understanding, and shared purpose. If officers believe they are being sidelined or placed in dangerous positions for political motives, their trust continues to decline. Once loyalty cracks open, repairing it requires more than commands. It requires leadership willing to confront the real issues causing dissatisfaction. There is also the question of how deep the crack goes. Some officers remain loyal and committed. Others are uncertain. A smaller group is openly frustrated. These layers create a complex internal ecosystem. If those who feel strongly begin to influence others, the divide could grow quickly. Institutions often shift in waves, and once a wave begins, it becomes difficult to stop. Social media discussions reflect this uncertainty. Belarusian users analyze every detail, interpreting small signs as indicators of larger trends. Citizens share their theories about the future and express fears about instability. Some see the loyalty crack as a sign of collapse within the system. Others view it as the beginning of needed change. This emotional divide mirrors the divide within the military, showing how deeply the issue affects the entire country. Official media in Belarus tries to portray the situation as stable. They highlight loyalty, discipline, and unity. But alternative media suggests otherwise. Independent analysts point out inconsistencies in official reports and highlight unusual behavior within the military hierarchy. These conflicting narratives create confusion and increase public anxiety. History shows that internal cracks within strong institutions often lead to long, long-term changes. Whether those changes are positive or negative depends on how leaders respond. In some countries, leadership chose dialogue and reform, restoring stability. In others, they responded with repression, deepening the divide and triggering more instability. Belarus now stands at a crossroads where either path is possible. If the leadership chooses to strengthen political pressure, the military could become even more frustrated. Officers might feel their concerns are being ignored. They might withdraw emotionally from their roles. This kind of silent disloyalty can weaken any institution, making it vulnerable during crises. If leadership chooses negotiation and gradual reform, the institution could stabilize. Officers might regain trust if they see genuine efforts to address their concerns. But such reforms require time, honesty, and willingness to accept criticism, qualities that are often missing in rigid political systems. The next few months will be critical. Decisions made now will shape whether the loyalty crack closes or expands. People inside and outside the country understand the importance of this moment. The military is not just another institution. It is the foundation of national security and internal order. A divided military can destabilize an entire nation. The impact on ordinary soldiers is also significant. Many are confused about their role. They follow orders, but they hear conflicting discussions among higher ranks. The uncertainty creates stress, especially for young recruits. When leadership sends mixed signals, morale suffers. Soldiers want clarity. They want a mission they can believe in. They want to know they are serving a purpose that aligns with the nation's true interests. The long-term future of Belarus may depend on how well it addresses the concerns of its military leaders. Public trust, military unity, and political stability are interconnected. If one collapses, the others can crumble quickly. That is why the crack in loyalty is so significant. It is not just a military issue, it is a national issue. As the story continues to unfold, the world will watch how Belarus responds. The leadership must decide whether to listen, reform, or suppress. The military must decide whether to remain united or push back more strongly. Citizens must prepare for a period of uncertainty, hoping that stability can be restored. And analysts must observe whether this moment represents temporary tension or the first stage of a deeper transformation. What is clear is that the massive crack in Belarus military loyalty has changed the political landscape. It has exposed vulnerabilities that were long hidden. It has shown that even disciplined institutions can reach a breaking point when pressured beyond reason. It has forced the leadership to confront a new reality, one that demands action rather than denial. Whatever comes next, Belarus has entered a new chapter, one defined by tension, uncertainty, and the possibility of significant change. The stability of the country now depends on how these internal pressures evolve and how leadership responds to the biggest test of military loyalty the nation has seen in decades.